Susan Page is USA Today's Washington bureau chief. Welcome.
Thank you.
So looking at the defeat on health care, what does it mean for the president's agenda, specifically tax reform and infrastructure?
You know, it's damaging. It's damaging for one part because he is weakened politically by demonstrating that he couldn't deliver on this fundamental promise. It also raises questions about the White House operation, on their ability to build a coalition with Congress on an issue like tax reform. You know, we heard the Treasury Secretary, Steve Mnuchin, saying it would be simpler than health care. That's simply, history says that's simply not true.
They have to, go ahead.
Tax reform may be the toughest issue of all.
And they have to scale down their ambitions?
Yes, because under the budget rules, if they do it by budget reconciliation so that they can do it with just a majority in the Senate, it means it has to be revenue neutral over 10 years. And because they failed on health care, they didn't get that $1 trillion in tax cuts that they'd hoped to get to contribute to the bottom line there.
Well, we've heard Reince Priebus say that now maybe they will reach out to moderate Democrats. Is there incentive for Democrats to work with this White House now?
It's hard to imagine why a Democrat at this moment would want to send a lifeline to the president and to the Republicans who are in such peril at this moment. Now, the one reason might be to actually help the healthcare system get better.
Yeah.
And that might be a powerful incentive, but there's a big political incentive here to wait until the next midterm election, which is in just next year, to see if Democrats can score big gains, even win control of the Congress. That'd be a stretch, and then deal with the president from a position of real strength.
But Susan, it reminds me of marital counseling, where the counselor said to me, do you want to be right or do you want peace? At some point, the two sides have to say, one has to be the bigger person and say, we're going to work together.
Which
but
did you say?
Yeah,
I said I want both, Charlie, but it doesn't work that way, as you know.
And you know what? If you ask politicians in Washington right now, they'd say, we'd want to be right.
Well, and that puts us on track for something like a government shutdown, which you just heard Chip Reed say is possible at the end of April.
That's right. We've got to have a spending bill pass by the end of April or the government will shut down. This is one of those difficult, unglamorous things to happen. It doesn't have the big glory payoff of repealing the Affordable Care Act. It's something Republicans historically don't really like to do, but they are in charge of the government now, and so they are on the hook to do that.
Does this force President Trump to become more engaged? I mean, the criticism has been he's not a details guy. Does he need to become one now?
You know, one of the things we're going to be watching is what are the lessons learned? What lessons does President Trump learn from these early experiences, the Affordable Care Act, and others in these first 67 days of his presidency? And does he make adjustments? We saw, you know, for instance, President Clinton had a rocky start.
Right.
In fact, he had a rocky 8 years, but he still got things done because he was constantly applying lessons learned from the last defeat. Will President Trump be like that? We don't know yet.
Is he learning that there are differences between being the president and being the candidate?
You know, some of the things that enabled him to win the election are making it harder for him to govern. You know, for instance, he wasn't a standard issue Republican. That was a good thing as a candidate, but it means that he has a different agenda in some ways from Paul Ryan. Paul Ryan is a conservative Republican, wants a smaller government. On this healthcare debate, President Trump wanted to make sure he protected some of the voters he drew to the Republican side this time. President Trump also was a very big picture guy, you remember, as a candidate. Sometimes as president, you really need to get down in the weeds.
What happens to Planned Parenthood?
Well, you know, that's a big issue. Planned Parenthood, at the moment, still funded. Obamacare is still the law of the land. After Republicans promised for 7.5 years to repeal it, they're in power. They weren't able to do it.
Thanks, Susan.
Thank you,
Very much,
Charlie.
Susan. Always good to have you here.